My name is Oshun. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Y'all are my soul tribe. Tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you, and that's because I love you so freaking much. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the Soul Tribe, honey. It's free. Sharing is caring. To get your weekly dose of the supernatural every Sunday and Thursdays. All right. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I do not take it for granted at all. Now let's get to this video.
So me and my kid just got back from eating dinner and my bedroom light is on, which is strange because I don't remember leaving it on. Yeah, I'm sure I didn't leave it on. Listen, I'm gonna walk inside real fast. I want you to wait out here for me. Yeah, I'm
You wanna go in?
I want you. Oh my God. Somebody broke in our.
Call the police.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's go.
Oh. Jaden, yeah, it is. Go next door. Go next door and get your icy, okay? If you hear me scream, y'all hear me scream, call 911. Okay?
A story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Okay, excuse how I look, but I'm gonna try to be super quick when I tell this story. So this happened to me about a month ago, and I'm laying in my bed. I had just had the strangest dream in the world. And I woke up from my dream because, you know, it was scary, like something was chasing me or whatever. And I went in the bathroom, and then I just woke up out of fear. And I just sat there, and I was just looking at my bedroom wall. The way my bed is set up, so like if you walk in my room and you look to the right, my bed is on the far left wall. And when I was sleeping, my back was turned to the door, so I couldn't see, like, you know, anything. So I'm just chilling, right? And I'm laying there. Mind you, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I hear the loudest footsteps running through our house. Like, our house, like, we have, like, real hardwood floors. So you can hear when somebody's, like, walking through the house. Like, you can hear that. But somebody was in there running, and they was running fast, girl. They wasn't stopping. But they did end up stopping, and they stopped at my room door. And I'm just laying in my room, and I'm looking at my wall, like, what? It just ran through the house and stopped at my door for some reason. Like, what was that? And then I hear my bedroom door open. I know what my door sounds like. Like, if you have, like, a newer house, like, you know how, you know, like, if you open and close your door, like, it makes, like, a clicking noise or whatever. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I heard my door open, and I'm just laying there, like, in fear. Like, I've never felt so scared before in my life. Like, I'm so serious. And I'm just laying there, and I feel something behind me. Like, y'all, it was like the darkest presence I've ever felt. Like, it felt not human, okay? Whatever was standing behind me was not a person. I thought it was, but it wasn't. The longer I sat there and realized that it was not a person. So I'm laying there, and I usually have the covers up to my neck, but this night I did not. I was slacking a little bit, and my neck was exposed. It was this side of my neck right here. It was exposed, and I felt something touch my neck. Like, it was so sharp. It touched my neck. Like, y'all, I literally thought something, like, think of the sharpest object you can and imagine it poking you in your neck. Like boop, like that. Or like it happened fast but slow at the same time. Like, it was like that. So I jump out of my bed. Excuse me. I turn around. Nobody's there, of course. And my bedroom door is closed. It was never open. It never got opened. So I jump up and I go to the door and I open the door, because at first I thought it was my brother, because I know he comes in there sometimes and, like, you know, snooping around and stuff, trying to find my phone charger, this, that, and the third. I know he does that a lot. So I thought that was him. So I walk across the hall, because my bedroom and his bedroom are adjacent from each other. So I walk across the hall. This man's asleep. sound asleep. Mind you, he has a bunk bed, so he got to climb up the ladder to get in the bunk bed, and he would have been up there by now. Like, he would have still been climbing the ladder, like, by the time I made it to the door, open my door. He would have still been climbing the ladder, and I would have heard his bed, because the bed's kind of squeaky. So I'm like, what the heck just ran in here and touched me? What was that? So, y'all, I went in my room, and I sat on my bed, and I cried, and I put on scriptures. I started looking up Google scriptures, reading the Bible, praying, everything, on my knees, listening to sermons, playing gospel music. Girl, I was not playing. I said, whatever you are not welcome. Please get away from me right now. I don't play those type of games. I don't. Also, I'm gonna mention, when this happened, I was on my I done fell off a little bit, not gonna lie, but I was on my journey with having a relationship with Jesus Christ, and y'all, I think someone was trying to something was in there, and they were trying to get me. I don't play like that. And then I had called my boyfriend because I was scared, but yeah, y'all, and I didn't go to bed till like an hour or two later, and I was still scared when I went to bed. So I had my little sermons playing, scriptures playing in the background on my TV, everything was playing, girl. I don't play them games, but that's my little ghost story.
That was a good story. We heard her stories before. I hope it wasn't that story, but I know we've heard her stories before. But what would you do? Because I would be terrified.
2004, a teenage boy was staying over at his friend's house. He had trouble falling asleep, tossing and turning as the night stretched on. Around 3 a.m., just as he was finally beginning to drift off, the front door creaked open. Footsteps echoed through the house, slow and deliberate, until they stopped, right outside the bedroom where he and his friend were sleeping. The door swung open. Frozen in fear, the boy watched as a tall, shadowy figure entered the room. It moved with an eerie sense of purpose, stepping to the center of the room. Then, without a sound, it knelt down, bowed deeply toward the ground, and vanished. Heart pounding, the boy lay awake for the rest of the night, terrified that at any moment the figure would return. This time, looking straight at him. As the first light of morning crept through the window, he finally heard movement in the kitchen. His friend's mother was up, desperate for answers. He bolted out of the room and told her everything. She barely reacted. Instead, she simply gave him a cold, matter-of-fact response. "My husband visited me last night too."
Another scary story, and this one comes from the UAE.
Okay.
So when I was around 8 years old, my family and I, my family with 3 brothers and a sister, lived in a house in the UAE. We had just gotten a new nanny, and she was from Indonesia. At first, everything seemed calm, but after 3 weeks that she had been living with us, she started to act weird. She became super furious at me for no reason all the time, and would lie to my mom, complaining that I'd swear at her and throw things at her. I didn't even know any swear words, so how could I swear at her? And since I was young, my mom always took her side, and nobody ever believed me. Aww. You know what? My mom used to do that too. She used to take everybody's side. If anyone complained about me, she would take everybody's side, believe the whole entire world except for me. And that creates a lot of self-doubt for people. It did for me. She realizes her mistake now as an older adult. One day out of nowhere, I began seeing a really tall woman dressed in all black. That lasted for at least 2 weeks. I remember clearly, one day we were sitting there, my family was having lunch in the kitchen, and I was in the living room, and I all of a sudden became paralyzed. I thought I was just dreaming because the room looked like it had turned into hell. The walls were burnt and you could hear screams. And at the same time, that same woman appeared to me when I was paralyzed and told me to come to her. And about 5 seconds after I saw her, I passed out. I fainted. But my family didn't think much of it. Oh my God, you were only 8 and they weren't concerned? That's too little to just faint out of nowhere. Anyways, 4 months later, my brother and I were on our way home in my mom's car from school. My mom gets a call from my sister saying she has caught the maid trying to run away from home. So my mom replied saying, "We're at the roundabout. We're about to reach home." And when we reached home, my older brother and I were told to go into different rooms while my parents and eldest siblings talked to the maid. My dad searched the maid's bag that she was running away with and found clothes, but they were not her clothes. It was my family's clothes inside the bag. And then there was a little jar, a container filled to the brim with blood that had writing on a small piece of paper that you see in black magic stuff. It turned out that the woman I've been seeing was a jinn that the nanny had sent to haunt me. Oh my God.
Wow.
Then my parents sent the maid back to Indonesia, but a few weeks after the incident, my sister immediately began acting weird around our family. She had developed major dark under eyes and she was pale. One day, she became a whole different person. She began sitting in my room playing the Quran and screaming loudly and reading the Quran loudly, like possessed loudly. She'd been saying verses from the Quran that she had never ever memorized and that she didn't know. But this would go on for 2 long days until my mom let her stay in her room while I went back to sleeping in my own room. One night, my mom told me she felt unsafe being alone with my sister because of how she was feeling. So I assured her that I would just sleep in her bed on the mattress on the floor. At exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, my sister woke up, grabbed me, and tossed me out of her room and locked the door. I was so confused, but I just went back to my room and went into bed, about to doze off, until I heard a scream, and it was my mom's scream. It sounded like she was in pain. I ran around screaming and banging the doors to all my siblings' rooms for help. And when they came out, they tried to help me break my mom's door, but we were unsuccessful. My dad told my mom to open the door, and as my mom tried and finally opened the door, we could see blood everywhere coming from my mom. And in the corner of the room, my sister was crouched in the corner, giggling with an evil laugh. My family knew they had had enough and took her to a sheikh, which is like a Muslim priest. And he said that there was nothing wrong with her. Keep in mind, he was a young sheikh, very inexperienced. So we ended up taking her to the hospital where they diagnosed her with bipolar disorder. And when she came back from the hospital, the only person she wanted to be around was me. After a few years, my sister slowly began getting better, but something was still off. Every time she would call me into her room or when I needed to get something from her room, it always reeked of metallic, bloody smell. I didn't think much of it and let it pass. A few years later, my mom was on the phone with her friend about the sheikh that she saw in Egypt that helped my mom's friend's daughter since she was possessed. My mom knew she had to take my sister to this sheikh. My mom gave us no intel of what happened in Egypt, but she took my sister there. And when they got home from their trip, I asked my mom everything, and what my mom said made my blood run cold. She said that my sister has had a curse, black magic, put on her and was possessed since the time that we had that nanny from Indonesia. And if you remember in the beginning, the first part when I was paralyzed in the dark, that woman figure that kept calling my name and telling me to come to her. And since I didn't come to her, this whole time my sister had gotten possessed by that jinn and wanted to be in her different dimension and get into the dimension of this family and become a part of this family. So she had possessed the sister. Oh my God. So for like 2 years, the sister was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when she was actually possessed. This is why you have to believe what your children say. They're not always lying to you. They are telling the truth too. So if they feel something's off, maybe go on that hunch and like see what's up and do some more digging and research. It's your children, right? You're going to be attentive and like listen to their concerns, because that really sucked for her that she had to go through that for 2 years. Anyways, send me more, guys. These are so good.
But not only your children, shoot, your auntie, your drunk auntie, your uncle that smoke crack, like, they have spiritual experiences too. Yeah, they be high out their mind, but they also, go through psychosis, and it's not necessarily a psychosis event. It could be spiritual, and what they saying they really see, but because other people can't see it, they're labeled crazy and placed into a loony bin with a white jacket with their arms tied to their chest. But that's neither here or there, but that's true, right? Yes, it is. Next video.
cannot tell me that this man isn't haunted for the rest of his life. A couple weeks ago I posted this video where I talked about the commercials that played as Chris Watts was being questioned by police. I talked about how I believe that Shanann was sort of...
I never paid attention to the commercials.
I don't believe in coincidence, right? I think this was Shanann's way of making sure there would be justice for what this man had done to her and her babies. The comments on this video were flooded by people telling me other insane coincidences about this whole case. One of them being that Shanann and Chris had plans of naming their new baby Nico, because remember, Shanann was pregnant with their third child. They wanted to name the baby Nico Lee, and Chris's mistress's name was Nicole. I mean, Chris himself has claimed that he's haunted by his family, and their previous home, which has been sold since the murders, is said to be haunted as well. In the police
I thought they got tore down.
A scent dog in there searching for Shanann and the girls. The police officer and the dog handler are both spooked by the sound of giggling as they enter the closet. They're asking each other, like, you heard that, right? And the police officer notes that it kind of sounds like a children's toy. So the dog handler asks her to go into the closet and step on something to see if that's what made the sound, but they can't seem to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow. Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It sort of sounds like it.
Something. I heard it.
Did you hear it?
I did.
Sounded like a kid giggling or something, didn't it? Or a kid.
It did.
Where did that come from? Because all he did was go straight in there. That was strange. Well, we'll make a note of that.
I heard it.
Toy or not, this definitely seems to have shaken them up. As they move on throughout the house, people are quick to point out whispers that can be heard. In this clip, you can very clearly hear the whispering voice say,
I wish they would have showed the commercials, because I never noticed that before.
Cece was the nickname for Shanann's daughter Celeste. Then as they enter the master bedroom, you can hear the voice say, "This is our home." What do you guys think of this? Is the Watts family home actually haunted? Can this be explained? Let me know in the comments.
Morbid facts. The details revealed in Michael Jackson's autopsy report were nothing short of disturbing. He was almost completely bald and had a number of cosmetic tattoos, including permanent eyeliner and lip liner. He had puncture wounds all over his arms and had nothing but pills in his stomach at the time of death. Michael had also undergone at least 10 nose jobs throughout his life, leaving him with a left nostril that was almost completely collapsed. In 2014, Charles Manson was granted a license to marry 26-year-old self-proclaimed superfan, Afton Burton. However, the wedding was called off when it was revealed that Burton only wanted to marry him so that she could use his corpse as a tourist attraction once he died. In 2010, a Quebec woman parked her car in the middle of a highway so that she could help a family of ducklings cross the road. This caused a motorcyclist to slam into her car, killing him and his teenage daughter instantly. The animal lover was found guilty of criminal negligence and sentenced to 90 days in jail.
Late fall of 1952, 20 school children, ranging from 8 to 13 years old, were on their way back from an evening field trip to the Smoot Theater. But their bus driver, Miss Bernadette Shaw, took a wrong turn on the way home. In her attempt to find a shortcut back to their school in Clarksburg, where dozens of parents were waiting for her to return, Miss Shaw ended up on the deserted back roads of West Virginia with a bus full of sleepy children. Using the moonlight to guide her, Miss Shaw turned onto a shabby road that barely saw any activity. The road twisted so tightly around hairpin curves that it was far too narrow for her to turn the bus around and head back to the main road. She had no choice but to keep going. She'd been driving aimlessly for hours and was so distracted trying to find a way back that she didn't realize the gas gauge was well below E. Almost immediately, the engine started to cough and sputter as it gasped for fuel. The bus came to a rolling stop on top of a set of abandoned railroad tracks. As she turned around to tell the children not to panic, they were already fast asleep, exhausted from the day's journey. It was well past their bedtimes, and the dark, deserted route offered little more than trees in the way of scenery. She had two choices. She could wake the children and have them walk with her to the nearest gas station, or she could leave them on the bus while she walked by herself. There would likely be an attendant at the gas station, whom she hoped could give her a ride back to the bus.
I hope she didn't leave
If
them
so,
babies
she would
on
only be
top of
gone
the
for 30
railroad.
minutes, an hour at the most. And she only had one flashlight, which wasn't nearly bright enough to lead 20 children on a winding, miles-long hike in the dark. So she decided that the children would be safer on the bus. There was
Over
no
top of the
telling what type of
railroad,
debris
though?
could be lying on the road. And if a group of kids decided to wander off along the path, she wouldn't be able to see them sneak away.
She did say
It was best if she just went by
railroad,
herself.
right?
Grabbing the metal flashlight from under the driver's seat, she stepped onto the weary, rotting tracks,
Yeah.
locked the bus door behind her, and began to walk. She picked up her pace, almost to a jog, hoping that she could get back before any of the children woke up. 10 minutes went by, and she knew she had to be getting closer to town. The crisp night air was so silent that she could have heard a person coming from miles away. But it wasn't a person
A train.
that startled her. Quickly, she looked behind her. The railroad crossing, where the bus sat lifelessly, was perched upon a plateau, stretching as far as she could see. At first, the approaching light was just a
I
speck
knew
on the
it.
horizon. But as it grew bigger, the persistent sounds of a chugging engine made her drop the flashlight and take off running back to the bus. Chug, 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 echoed through the still air.
Goodness.
The closer the train got, the faster she ran. Her heart pounded as it jumped into her throat. She screamed for the train to stop, but her cries were
That train can't
overpowered
stop?
by the haunting, hollow whistle of the locomotive. Her knees ached as her feet hit the ground harder with each step. She shouted, "Stop! Please stop!" Her arms flailed in the dark night. Her eyes soiled with tears. "Stop!" she cried. "God, no! Please stop!" No longer lost in peaceful slumber, the children's tiny silhouettes could be seen banging on the windows of the bus, trying frantically to get
my
out.
gosh.
The train's brakes tightened around its wheels, sparks dancing alongside them. The children continued to pound on the glass as they screamed for help. "Stop!" Miss Shaw cried again, but her tear-soaked plea was no match for the sickening sound of metal colliding with metal. The train crashed into the bus, splitting it in two like a pencil cracked in half. Shrapnel-like shards flew through the air, piercing the ground as they landed. The front half of the bus rolled onto its side, then onto its top, then on its other side. It swayed back and forth
She's
as
dumb.
the thud of metal hitting pavement echoed in the
As
air
hell.
all around. Miss Shaw fell to her knees when she saw the children's bodies hurled from the vehicle. The windows of the bus had shattered, and the children's limbs had been ripped off by the sheer force of the train's blow. Blood began to splatter onto the broken windows, as if someone had started a blender and forgot to put the lid on.
Oh
As the
my
train
gosh.
continued to blaze
The
by,
visual is
Miss
crazy.
Shaw could see the other half of the school bus between the gaps of each car as they passed. The back half of the bus was flat on its side, its steel walls frayed open like the mouth of a jagged abyss. The children's bodies were heaped into a tangled mess over the bus's green padded seats, which were now drenched in pools of blood.
Oh my
She let out
gosh.
a gut-wrenching scream and quickly got to her feet. She ran to the front of the bus and began picking up the miscellaneous limbs
Oh my
strewn
gosh.
about the tracks. Carrying a pair of mismatched arms, she approached the beat-up torso of a third-grade boy and placed one
my
on top of him,
gosh.
not really knowing whether it was his.
Is it
Miss
over
Shaw,
yet?
so engrossed in her
I'm
task
done.
of trying to return the limbs to their rightful owners, didn't notice that the
The
train had
fuck?
finally stopped. She shrieked when she saw the conductor walk up behind her. His body, white with shock, trembled as he surveyed the scene. I tried, he mumbled to Miss Shaw.
It's
"I
not
tried
your
to
fault,
stop,"
it's her
he
fault.
repeated as he cupped his hand over his mouth, trying to contain the bile brewing in the back of his throat. "Oh, God. What?" He wept at the sight of the shredded children. "Why were you on the tracks?"
Right.
Before Miss Shaw could respond, her grief-stricken eyes rolled back into her head, and her legs gave out. The conductor caught her as she fell against him, and he dragged her body to the nearby grass. When she finally came to, police had arrived on the scene. She slowly sat up.
They would have had to
looked
get
toward
out.
the bus.
Let's go.
Its
We're taking
two
a walk.
halves,
Hold
separated by
hands.
50 feet
Start
of
the
blood-stained
train.
roadway. She
We
was
all know
taken
what the
to a
train
nearby
is.
hospital, and at the behest of the heartbroken parents,
You
was
hold this
arrested
hand,
on the
you hold
spot
this hand,
for
okay?
involuntary manslaughter. Decades went by before anyone in town would drive up that road again. In the late fall of 1977, two lust-fueled teenagers in Harrisville, West Virginia, decided to find a secluded spot to spend the evening. It was close to midnight, and the young man parked his Thunderbird near the entrance of North Bend State Park, leaving the engine running as he and his date succumbed to their desires. Without warning, the car slowly started moving backwards, But the couple, so engrossed in their activities, didn't realize it right away. When they took a momentary recess, the young man glanced out the window and noticed that they were mysteriously stopped on top of a set of old railroad tracks. The young woman shrieked when she heard a whistle in the distance, but the boy couldn't get the car into gear. They desperately tried to open the doors, but the locks were stuck. They pounded against the windows as the rapidly approaching train blared its horn. The rumbling of the train on the tracks vibrated through the vehicle. The glass rumbled as the couple continued banging on the window. As they scrambled to find a way out, the couple felt the car inch forward. The young man looked around, but didn't see anything by the car except the oncoming train. The car crept another inch forward, and then another inch. It rolled forward until the train zoomed past the car, missing its back bumper by less than a foot. The force of the speeding train rocked the car back and forth. The car's axle creaked with each sway.
Wow.
When the train finally disappeared into the horizon, the young man, shocked and shaken, was able to get the car into gear and drove his date back to town. The next day, the boy took his car to a mechanic to check the transmission. The car was covered in dust from traveling down the deserted road the night before. The boy told the mechanic about the car inexplicably going into reverse, and the mechanic remarked that the same thing had happened to several Ford cars recently. The boy then confessed to the mechanic that he'd been stuck on the abandoned railroad tracks near North Bend State Park, and as the train was approaching, he had experienced an odd sensation that the car might have been pushed off the tracks from behind. As the boy continued to tell the story, the mechanic's eyes filled with tears. "My son died on those tracks 25 years ago," the mechanic said. "He was in a school bus that was left on the tracks by the driver." And as the mechanic walked to the back of the boy's car, both his feet and heart stopped when he saw dozens of child-sized handprints covering the edge of the car's trunk.
Oh my
Train to
goodness,
Clarksburg
bruh.
by Michelle Hansen.
That was good. That gave me chills. Oh my goodness, my eyes are watering. That was an excellent story. Wow. Wow. Go follow them, y'all. Go follow them. That was excellent. Thank you. Ferropoly. Cool.
The that I got for tonight's True Scary Story is absolutely insane. It's about a girl who has had a demon follow her entire life, and she actually ended up in the hospital with a wound. Absolutely make sure that you are protecting yourself before this video, and ignore my spray tan. I can't wash it off yet. Let's get started. Today's submitter wanted to remain anonymous, so we're going to call her Caroline. Caroline grew up in a severely abusive household, and from a young age she has been able to talk to and see things that other people cannot. She was about 8 years old when she realized that she could speak to these entities. By the time she was 14 years old, the abuse from her mother got progressively worse, and this is when she started to see the entity. First time she saw it, it was standing outside of her window. It was about 8 feet tall. It had long, talon-like nails, black eyes, and razor-sharp teeth, and it was just staring at her, smiling at her. It felt like everywhere she went, this thing was always with her, and she tried to get help from churches, from priests, but no one would help her. They all said that she was delusional or psychotic. So she tried to ignore this for the next 4 years, just telling herself that it was her mental health issues. But after 4 years, the creature became stronger than it had ever become before, and the reason for this, I think, and she thinks, is because she was in a very abusive relationship with her ex. One night, on a particularly bad fight with her ex, she saw this creature standing next to him, smiling, saying, "Just listen to me and unalive her." She also heard this entity telling him that if he didn't do this, it would destroy their bond. And then that night, he ended up with a rusty screwdriver so close to her ovaries, it almost destroyed her ovaries. She was able to pray long enough and quiet enough for this entity to go away. Later on that night, her cousin dropped her off at the hospital. A priest came to speak to her and prayed over her and blessed her at the hospital. And ever since that night, she never saw him again until April 17th, 2024, when her now fiance went to go visit his family downstate. It was 2:45 in the morning, approximately 3 hours after she had received a phone call from her now fiance telling her that he had made it downstate. He was going to bed and had just gotten out of the shower, when all of a sudden she hears banging and scratching and yelling at her front door. She started to hear her fiance's voice clear as day say, "Baby, I'm at the front door. Open up. It's cold out here. She didn't answer because she knew it wasn't him, and the banging got louder, and so did the screaming. She kept hearing this creature screaming, "Princess, it's me. I lost my key. It's freezing out here. Baby, open the door." She kept ignoring it until it got louder and louder and more aggressive. She felt at this point like she was in danger, so she quietly walks over to the peephole of the door. When she looked out of the peephole, she saw her fiance standing at the front door, but he didn't look exactly like her fiance. She immediately knew it was this creature, and as soon as the creature realized that she was looking at it, it started laughing at her and smiling. In that moment, she started praying to her guardian angels that they would please come and help her. And after 18 minutes of praying, everything felt calmer and safer. And once she looked outside, she saw her grandmother and her grandfather, who is fully Native American, guarding her house, along with other family members that had passed away. And since then, she has not seen or heard anything from this creature. She doesn't fully know if this thing was an SW, a mimic, or what. She still gets scared thinking about the fact that her son, who she's pregnant with right now, may have to deal with this creature one day. And just in case you guys are wondering, her ex-boyfriend is in prison right now. He's in prison for crimes on women and children, domestic violence cases, and attempted unaliving. I knew you guys would have that question, so I asked it for you. So what do you guys think about this story? I think that it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, she ended up in the hospital because this thing was telling her ex to her, like, and he did it. Just being there and seeing the both of them, like her attacker and then also the thing that's been tormenting her entire life, antagonizing her attacker, is absolutely terrifying to me. This poor girl. I am so sorry that this happened to you, Caroline. Caroline did actually change her mind and say that I could tag her, so she will be tagged in the description. I'm so glad she is in a much happier place today and she has not seen this creature, but what do you think that this thing was? Like, do you think it was a mimic? Do you think it was a flesh pedestrian?
I used to have that outfit in the back.
Just a demon?
A similar outfit.
Thoughts on this, because we would both like to know. She has no idea and she wants to know what you guys think. But now we're gonna go to the lighter part, my favorite part, the shout outs.
The mother who ate her baby. In 2009, 33-year-old Audie Sanchez was home in San Antonio, Texas, taking care of her 3-week-old son, Scotty. Her family had noticed something was off. She was talking to herself, acting paranoid, but no one could have imagined what would happen next. Early morning, her sister made a panicked 911 call. When police arrived, they found one of the most gruesome crime scenes ever recorded. Scotty, her newborn baby, had been dismembered. His body was ripped apart, and Audie had chewed off parts of his face, toes, and even his brain. She was sitting on the couch, covered in blood, holding what was left of him. When police asked her why she did it, she simply said, "The devil made me do it." She had been suffering from postpartum psychosis, a rare mental illness that can cause mothers to experience terrifying hallucinations and delusions. Instead of going to prison, she was sent to a high-security psychiatric hospital, where she remains to this day. Was this insanity or pure evil? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more disturbing true crime stories, follow me for more.
A perfect example of what I was talking about previously. She clearly had something wrong with her, but it was more than whatever was going on mentally. It was spiritually, and she clearly had some type of something up on her that caused her to do that. Like, that's not fucking normal.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about that moment?
I'm about to let y'all into a little portion of my life. Do not judge me. I'm just going to be completely honest, okay? So, I'm a mother of 6. Now, I had my first child when I was 14, my second one when I was 16, my third one when I was 17, my fourth one when I was 18. Now, this story revolves around the child I had when I was 18. So, I met my ex-husband when I was 15, and we had our first child when I was 16, meaning I had one prior to that. So, I gave birth to a little girl, my second one, with my ex-husband, which would be his first. Then we had a son. Then I was pregnant at 18 with my next daughter. Keep all this in mind. So while I'm pregnant, me and my ex-husband, we were house hunting because he had done got a good job. He had been working good for a while. We done stacked some money up. Well, he done stacked some money up for us. But nonetheless, you know, it's just. So y'all, we come across this beautiful house. I mean, beautiful. And when we come across it, they're remodeling it. They're opening up spaces. They doing all kinds of construction to it. It's going to be a brand new, totally new house when it's finished. So when we come across it, we mess around, see the workers in there. They give us the number of the people who own it. We call them. They like, you give us the deposit, we'll save the house for you. So we with the shit. So we like, yeah, whoa. Now, y'all, this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house. Full 2-car garage, a full upstairs attic, and then what they would call a washroom behind the garage. And the backyard, immaculate. You hear me? I mean, it is gorgeous. You just had to be there. But you really had to be there to know all the creepy stuff that was getting ready to occur. And it was several people there who can actually coincide with my story. So, the day I give birth to my daughter is the day the people call and say, hey, the house is ready. Oh, but I just gave birth, right? My baby daddy didn't care about none of that. He moved us in while I was in hospital. And then the rent was dirt cheap. That's when we should have knew something was wrong. So this is the very first occurrence of when I knew it was some shit going on. Y'all, it was cold as hell in there. And it's early August. And I live in North Carolina. If you know anything about North Carolina, it's hot. It's 90 degrees in early August. So I'm opening up doors and windows, cleaning up and stuff, you know, getting the house put together because my baby daddy going to work. He done moved us in. So I got to do something while I'm there. Y'all, on the second night, I'm sitting in there. My daughter's crying. I'm making her a bottle. I see her bottle on the countertop. It moves from one end of the countertop to the other. Then back to where it started. Come back for part 2.
Girl, you're
Any of you have this type of like Barbie head that you can style growing up? If you have one, or maybe your kid has one now, yeah, don't listen to the story. So this happened back in the 80s when this lady was a little girl. She was the only girl in the family. She had 2 older brothers. She mentions how her bedroom was right across from her brother's bedroom, so the doors faced each other. Her brothers did share a room while she had her own bedroom. Also, it's important to mention that the bedrooms didn't have doors. What they would do is put curtains where the door should be. I remember having a curtain on my door once, but that was only because my mom took the door. She took the door to my room. Anyway, she played with this doll head so much that every night when she would go to bed, her mom would pick up that doll head and put it on top of her dresser so that she doesn't play with it all night in bed. So there was one night when the younger brother woke everybody up in that household because he was crying uncontrollably. Obviously, the parents were worried. They ran straight to the bedroom, and when they got there, they asked him what was wrong, why is he crying? And he told them that when he was laying in bed trying to go to sleep, he saw when that Barbie head peeked into his bed. Why did I get chills? The Barbie head peeked into his bedroom from the sister's room. He described it almost as if somebody was holding that Barbie head and just inclined it this way. So I guess like literally, I can't even do the motion. I just scared myself. Anyway, he described it as if like somebody had grabbed that head and inclined it this way, so it looked like it was peeking, which obviously is impossible for that doll to do because it would have fallen. It's only like a head. As he's crying, he's like, she was staring at me almost like she knew I was awake, and she peeked into the room. And it was basically impossible for someone to have hidden behind that Barbie to incline her, because again, she was up against that dresser. Even if it was a little sister, she would have been visible from his bedroom. And to no one's surprise, the parents did not believe him. His older brother that also slept in that bedroom did not believe him either. However, with time, that older brother started to believe because some weird shit happened to him as well. So there was one night where the older brother couldn't fall asleep, and something just told him to look towards his little sister's door. He saw the same thing that his brother claimed to have seen, which is that doll head kind of, you know, inclined looking towards the bedroom. But it wasn't just that. It was not just that. He stared back at her because he wanted to make sure, like, is somebody holding her? Is she really moving? Is it me? And when he is staring at this Barbie's head, he said that the Barbie started making faces at him. He described it as like mocking faces, that like sticking her tongue out at him and doing like silly faces. Bro, that would have scared the I wake up, I turn, I look at my Barbie. The Barbie's like, that's the only thing I could think of. What other faces could she have done? What other faces? That would have scared me. That would have been it. Now that I think of it, that bitch has no arms. You have no arms, bitch. I'm gonna fuck you up. Okay, 34-year-old Letty would have fucked her up, but like 12-year-old Letty would have been dying of a heart attack. He also mentions how her mouth would move in like weird angles, almost as if she was trying to say something to him. And by that point, the little brother had also seen those facial expressions that Barbie was making as well. And of course, the older brother went and told his parents. He wanted to tell them that the little brother was not lying. He also saw that doll moving and making facial expressions, and of course, they didn't believe them. On the contrary, they got in trouble
people for making these things up. They basically told them, you better not come to us and tell us that Barbie's moving again or you'll be in big trouble. What's the punishment? I get to sleep in the room with you? Okay, bitch, punish me. What's the punishment? You're taking me to sleep in a new home? Take me right now. So the parents didn't believe them until one night where the dad stayed up by himself, and when he was walking down the hallway, he felt as if somebody was behind him. Immediately he turns around to look, and he could have sworn that he saw something peeking from on top of a dresser. The dad could have sworn that he thought it was that doll head that he saw move. You're a liar, you're making things up, and if you bring this up again, you're gonna be in big trouble, mister. Obviously, it was that moment where it finally scared the dad, where the family decided to get rid of this doll head. So where they lived, the trash people only came on Tuesdays and Saturdays, so they had left the trash and that doll head out there, and it wasn't trash day, so it was just gonna sit out there until the trash came. So while the doll was still outside in the trash, their grandmother came for a visit, and as she was passing by the trash, she saw this like perfectly clean and new doll head on top of the trash can. She pulled it out and asked them why they were gonna throw it away, and her son, the dad, didn't want to tell her why, so he just said it was because the daughter didn't want to play with the doll anymore. So the grandmother decided that she was gonna take it to her home because she had this bedroom that she called the old doll room, and she basically had a whole collection of dolls. She cleaned that doll head up and put it inside of that room. And surprise, surprise, after she put that doll head into that bedroom, weird sounds would start coming from that room. The lady that's telling us the story, obviously that was her doll, and she said that she personally never heard any noise in her grandmother's room where that doll was, but her grandmother and her aunt did hear noises coming from there. She explains that her cousins would also say that they would hear weird sounds coming from that room. They would spend the night at the grandmother's home, and while they were sleeping, they could almost hear like plastic bumping into things in that room. However, they were already scared of that room altogether since there was like old dolls all in there, and they did not dare to go in there and figure out what that noise was. With time, the mom of the girl was like, I cannot not tell them why we got rid of that doll. So she did end up telling the grandmother and the aunt why they got rid of the doll, and obviously they were like, oh my god, so it has to be that doll that's making those noises in that room. However, the grandmother decided not to get rid of that doll. She obviously did believe in the paranormal, but she was not about to be scared of it, so she decided that she was going to keep it in her house so that no one else has to deal with this doll. By the way, the grandmother lived by herself in that house, so yeah, that lady was not scared of the doll. That doll ended up staying with her until her final days, and the grandmother passed away. So grandmother passed away and left that house to her aunt, and her aunt, first day, took all of the grandmother's collection, including that doll head, and basically got rid of everything. She says that the aunt never told anybody what she did with it. They have not seen that doll head ever since. Yeah, that is a crazy fucking story. I feel like I would die if I were to see that Barbie head just like blah, making crazy ass faces at me. But what do you guys think?
I don't know if that I would be scared because it's a freaking doll that doesn't even have arms. Like, is the face turning demonic, or is it just making silly faces? Because yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it will freak me out because why is that happening to a plastic piece of nothing? But at the same time, I don't know. Y'all would definitely get rid of it. What do you think the aunt did with the stuff? I think she probably just burnt everything, took it to the middle of the woods or somewhere. They live somewhere where you could start a bonfire and just burnt all that shit, got rid of it all. Or she, you know, locked it away somewhere private in her own home. Who knows? But what would you do? Because yeah, it gotta go. I'm getting rid of it. I'm not keeping that shit. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. And then when Granny passed, yeah, I would have had to get rid of all of that shit. Depending on what it is. But won't need no creepers, honey. Keep that creeper shit to yourself, okay? But you're in of another video. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, baby. I do not take it for granted, okay? If you want to support the channel, it is free to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you give it to everybody that you know, whether you like them, love them, want to fight them, feed them, or fuck them. They need to see these videos, okay? And, you know, you can also wait to the end, see my Cash App, send me $1, honey. I take $1. You got $1? Have $1? Please? Thank you. But you already know what it is. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your time. Nails are breathing. That's why nails are not done. I know y'all be asking, but they're going to get done soon. And I don't know if I'm going to go long or short or what, but they're going to be really cute whenever I'm ready. But they're breathing right now, okay? You need to let yours breathe too. That's why you keep getting fungus up under them things. I know. But yeah, y'all. Have a good weekend. It's coming up. Enjoy your time with your families. Be grateful for your life. Be grateful that you wake up each and every morning. Be grateful that your arms and your fingers and your legs and your toes work. Be grateful that your taste buds work. Be grateful that your eyes and your nose work, honey. Just be grateful that you are alive, healthy, breathing. And even if you're not healthy, work on getting healthy and still show your gratitude to what you do have and what you have accomplished in your life, okay? I'm out, y'all. I love you, Ashe.
Open my third eyes, on my way. I'ma open my one eye, be in dementia. You on my body, but I'm not a Christian. I'm not a religion.